Hi, it's Candy. Welcome to the Art of Planning, where we plan pretty, on purpose, and powerful. And one of the things I have been lately is consistently inconsistent, and I apologize. There has been a lot going on, but you know what? There is a lot going on in everybody's life. So I don't use that as an excuse. I just use it as an explanation. And I have been telling you on this YouTube channel for a long time that I was going to explain to you how I got started in the world of pretty planning, and I don't think there's any better time than right now, because it ties in a lot with why I have been consistently inconsistent probably the past month. So I want to do that right now. I want to tell you how I got started in the world of pretty planning, why it's such a joy for me, why I love it so much, and why it was so important for me to get started on it. And I also want to tell you that this is probably going to be a two-parter. So we'll just start here. We're going to see what's happening, how we pursue it. And look, no notes. I actually brought this in case I want to remind myself of something to tell you later, but because I have no notes, I will probably skip around. I'm going to jump and tie things in at different times, at different ways. So I hope I don't get scattered with this, but I think there are some things that I want to share, and I may have to jump back and forth a little bit to share that with. I just popped in, my husband and I just popped back home last night from being out of town for several days. We flew my mother, today's Friday, a week ago Thursday, we air flighted her out of town. We live in a small rural town, and we air flighted her to a larger area. I went with her on the flight, and she had pneumonia, like incredible pneumonia. My mother's in her 80s. She has a bad heart. 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, this coming January, she had a massive heart attack. A massive heart attack. And to be honest, they had to air flight her then also. To be honest with you, I didn't think she'd make the flight. My dad flew with her then, and my husband and I drove. It was a 2.5-hour drive for us, kind of in the middle of the night. And I literally did not think that when we got there that she would still be here. That was a great, big, huge, scary thing. When I say massive, she was left with about 25% of her heart functioning. So it was massive. She was in her 80s then when she had that heart attack. And it was brutal. It was brutal. She did survive that, and you know, when 25% of your heart doesn't work, it also affects everything else in your body. Our bodies are amazing machines. I mean, they are incredible. But when your heart's only working at 25%, it affects every other organ in your body. So Mom did survive that, only to have another heart attack just shortly thereafter, a couple months thereafter. And then after she had that, they went and put in a defibrillator. And my mom is really, really small, so she's got this little metal thing inside. But you know what? That medicine is so incredible also right now. Medicine is just amazing. So we went through all of that, but still, that was the beginning of her life and Dad's life forever changing. You know, when they say that the new normal, that was the beginning of a new normal for them personally, for us, for my sister and her husband. I mean, that just, we walked into a new situation from then on. And all of a sudden, my personal business, the one I had developed for a long, long time, you know what, we come to forks in the road, don't we? And that was a fork in the road for me. I could make many decisions on how I was going to proceed, There were doctor appointments at one after another, after another, after another, and they needed somebody to drive them and take them and do, and there were doctor appointments out of town, there were doctor appointments in town, it was just crazy. My dad was able to take care of a lot of that for probably a year, maybe a year and a half, and it just flat wore him down. And at some point, it was bad for his health too, and he started having some major health appointments. So, let's go back to when Mom had the major heart attack, and it became a pretty big responsibility for me and for my sister to start doing a lot of traveling, not just traveling, but things here in our hometown to take care of Mom and Dad and their medical appointments and a lot of those things. All of a sudden, when I made the decision to take on a majority of that, and let me say this too, I didn't take on a majority. My sister is incredible. We really work as a team. I know a lot of families don't have that, but my sister and I really work as a team. But still, there was so much of it to do that when you take that on, it's still a big responsibility. So at that time, I had to decide what I was going to do, and I had to pick it up and do it. Now, in my other life, I'm a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I have been for 20-something years, maybe 25 years. I have done that for a long time, and I've worked with an amazing group of women in my unit. Just people that I'm proud to have worked with, but also women that I'm proud to have called my friends, full of integrity, full of a wonderful work ethic, funny, just, they're just very, very dear to me. But I had to decide to step back from that a little. And let me say too, I've worked with wonderful clients that also I call my friends today. So I've been blessed with a great big group of wonderful people. And I've been blessed with a wonderful company too. I love Mary Kay Cosmetics, the company. I love Mary Kay Cosmetics, the product. But I had to kind of back off from that just a little. Here, I'm going to take a note because I want to remember to go back to this just a little bit. You know, it was a conscious decision. You only have so many hours in the day. You only have so many days in a week. You only have so many weeks in a month. So, we've talked about this before on this channel. Anytime you make the decision to spend time in one place, you make the decision that time will not be spent someplace else, right? You only have that block of time to spend somewhere. So I had to consciously cut back on something I was doing. And that is when, you know, I did that after I thought, not consciously, but after I let it wear me down a little bit, not being able to do everything. I let that wear me down physically, but more mentally and probably emotionally, till one day I just went, what am I going to do? So that was when I started looking for pretty planners and for a fun way to look at a date book. Because I had always used a Franklin planner. You've heard that also if you've watched any of the other videos. I've always used a Franklin planner in my Mary Kay business. That's what's kept me organized. That's what kept me on track. That's what I did my appointments by. That's what I did my meetings by. That's what I did my travel by. It works for me so efficiently there. But all of a sudden, that's not what my Franklin planner looked like. My Franklin planner was filled with this doctor appointment, with that doctor appointment, with this hospital trip, with this. it just didn't look like me anymore. All of a sudden, it was not these fun appointments. It was just, it didn't look like my planner anymore. It looked like doctor appointments and medical trips, and it just, I mean, that also mentally and psychologically took a toll on me. So I decided that if that was the kind of appointments I was going to be making, then at least it was going to look fun. If those appointments were not themselves fun, then I wanted them to be fun, and I wanted them to look fun, and I was going to make a mental shift. I was going to make a conscious decision to make a shift in how my appointments looked. I hope that makes sense, because I had to do something. I had made the decision to change what I was going to do consciously, and now I needed to physically be able to see something pretty, and see something decorated, and see something that was appealing to my eye, because that at this point now was going to make a difference in, was going to make a big difference in how I looked at the day. I hope that makes sense, because boy, it made sense to me. It made sense to me. So at that point, I started doing some researching on pretty planners. I started watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I really had fun. It was wonderful. Some of you ladies, some of you people just have really helped me so much. So I started watching some YouTube videos, started watching a lot of YouTube videos. I started following some people on Instagram. I started checking out planners. I started checking out washi. I did my research. Now here's one thing about doing your research. Still doing your research, you kind of don't know. I kind of don't know until I get my hands in there and do some work with them and see and all of that. So I did do my due diligence, but I still don't feel like I know until I've gotten to play with things. So the place that I went first was the Erin Condren. And I'll have to tell you, I have loved working with the Erin Condren. So that's where I got my feet wet, was with the Erin Condren planner. And I guess I kind of happened to fall with it whenever the new one of these was coming out. I knew nothing about when things were being launched. I knew nothing about when they were debuting new things. I just knew nothing about that. I knew nothing about the people that made the stickers. I guess I learned about that mostly on Instagram. I didn't get all the weeks right, because, you know, that was a timing issue for sure. I didn't know about the holidays. I didn't know about how long people took to ship things. I just didn't know all that. So that was fine. That's okay. I still muddled through things. And I didn't necessarily get this all filled out all the time. But the thing was, I had fun doing it. And this just lightened my thought process so much that it really helped my state of mind in making that switch. And I did fill things out sometimes, but I still knew that I could look at, I do this wrong sometimes. You guys can't see it on screen. I still knew that, I mean, does this look so much prettier than looking at a lined piece of paper, which is what my Franklin planner is, and it's what I want it to be, because that's, I think that's where the down and dirty planning is, and I don't want that to sound bad. That is my functional, foundational planner, and I love that, and that's what I want that to be. But this is where things can go when they're not necessarily fun. This is where they can go when I want to look at things that I need to see brightness in. I need to see happiness in. I need to see an uplifting in. So that's why I went to the pretty planners. And I did tons of studying, And I did find that there were lots and lots of things out there, but I kind of had to start someplace. So I took some of y'all's suggestions on sticker shops, and I just started kind of playing with washi. It was a little hard for me. I don't live in an area where I can see or touch or feel any of this. I live rural, I live remote, so I had to do a lot of things online. And that's okay, but it's so much better when you can feel and touch and see and all of that. So that is the main reason that I started pretty planning 3 years ago. It was because of some life things that were going on, and because I had to have this in my life to be able to look at what my appointments were and what my schedule was and what was going on. I had to be able to look at them in a different way. I had to be able to look at them a different way. So my start in pretty planning was because of that. And my start in pretty planning was with Erin Condren. That's where it all began. That's why it all began. Now there's some other things that have happened on the journey that have been a lot of fun, some things I've learned. There's more to the personal story, and I will go ahead and share that in another video, and it's going to be pretty much back to back. I may break it up into something else if it goes much longer. If I can finish it up in 2, I'll do them back to back. But that's basically how I got here and why I've continued in it. It's also why I've been consistently inconsistent lately. So I hope that helps you kind of understand a little bit. But we will